Refresh Franchising, the heroic choice for entrepreneurs. Proud sponsor of the Distilled Wisdom podcast.
So welcome to the second episode of Distilled Wisdom. I'm Adam Ferracane, your host, and today we have Michael Andes. Michael is a real estate investor here in the Akron, Ohio area, as well as a former male model, and recently threw his hat into the political ring for a run for city council, right?
Yes, we did, yeah.
Yeah, so welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you, Adam. Very nice to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be able to sit here and tell a little bit of my wisdom and some of the things I've been through. And where do you want me to start? Growing up?
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about, where you grew up and, your background, your childhood a little bit.
I'm a lifelong Akron resident. I grew up in West Akron, Highland Square. My family sent us to St. Vincent St. Mary, myself and my two brothers, Art and Brent. And Mom was a realtor. Dad was an investor. And what they did was Mom would find Dad some real estate that she felt was a good deal, and my dad would buy them. They wouldn't flip them. They would fix them up and rent them out. And I grew up, my whole life. My mom did this for 40 years. And from the time I was a kid, I would go with my dad and, come on, Mike, we got to cut the grass. Come on, we got to clean out an apartment. And it's like I grew up in that environment. I wasn't always crazy about it. I can't lie. You would hear the nightmare stories, people not paying, destroying the places, stuff like that. But the older I got, the more I realized my dad always had a lot of money. He had a lot of friends. He made friends with his tenants. He created a family atmosphere with his tenants. And people needed a place to live, and my dad provided that service. And he went above and beyond that sometimes. He would have cookouts in the summer for his tenants. He would have Christmas parties. And my mom would get mad at him sometime. Like, she would say, Art, these are your tenants. These aren't your best friends. But they put it this way. When my dad passed away, there was 800 people at his funeral. And I'm telling you, probably 600 of them were former tenants. And
what else could he ask for in life? Right?
What else could you ask for in life? What do you leave in life? It's your legacy and being loved. Can't take your money with you. And my dad was loved, And as I got older, like I said, when I was growing up, I learned from my dad, and so did my brothers, that we can't just hire everything done. He taught us I was changing locks at 12 years old, lighting pilots, when I was 15, cutting grass when I was a teenager. I was learning. He would say, Michael, you can't hire all this done because that goes your profit. You better learn how to do it. My brothers, they would change outlets and lights and toilets. And
so how old were you when you actually got into real estate for yourself?
Well, I'll tell you the story. So growing up, we also had a little car dealership because my oldest brother, Art, he owned a car dealership, small family mom and pop car dealership. And my brother Brent was a painter. He was a fabulous painter. And I sold cars with Art. And like you said in the broadcast, I got into a little bit of modeling because my mom was a model too, and she was a beautiful, beautiful woman. And I was at the auction one day because I was helping her sell cars, and a lady approached me. She said, "You ever thought about modeling?" And I'm like, "I think I'm too short to model, And she's like, "No, I'm talking about print work and acting." So I'm like, "Well, who doesn't want to do that? Who doesn't want to be Al Pacino or Robert De Niro, right?" So I'm, well, heck yeah. So I went into it was Barbizon. And she got me out there and took pictures and stuff, but I wasn't getting any work, so I was a little bit disappointed.
So she was an agent, right?
No, her sister worked out there, and she kind of just lured me into there. And I don't want to say anything bad about anyone, but I just wasn't getting any work other than passing out cologne at malls and stuff like that. But the one thing I got was some really cool pictures. You can show later if you want. If not, it doesn't matter. But
yeah, we'll have you send them over. And
yeah, well, what happened was a friend of mine heard there was a Playgirl Scout in Cleveland, WMMS.
The Playgirl magazine.
The magazine, yeah. Sends my picture. So they call me up. I'm just in a leather coat. It's all good. It's all in good taste. Sends my picture, and next thing you know, they're calling me from New York saying, "Hey, we like your look. Would you like to do this magazine?" And I'm like, wait. I'm Catholic. I'm with my high school sweetheart. I got to talk to my mom and my family. And by the time I even had a chance to talk to them, the editor-in-chief calls me. She says, Michael, we're picking you out of thousands of people. What are you hesitating about? I'm like, well, I got to make sure this is the right move, And I'm thinking, well, no one's going to know. My family was all supportive. Mom was most excited of any of them. So we went ahead and did the shoot. They came in from New York and all the cameras and everything. We did a shoot. It was all in good taste. Next thing you know, they called me up. They said, you're the real man of the month. It's going to be a 5-page spread. So I thought, oh, my God, this isn't going to be a secret anymore. So they called me from the Beacon Journal, and they started interviewing me. How did you get in this? Did you make much money? You're Catholic. Boy, what are you thinking? And next thing you know, I go, is this a big deal? They're like, probably front page. So I'm on the front of the Beacon. Live on 5 with Wilma Smith interviewed me in my living room. It was a 5-page spread. And
for the listeners, the Beacon's a local newspaper here in Akron.
Yeah. So you can't imagine the things that started coming my way after that. Now real agencies were calling. Ford in Cleveland. There was a place in Youngstown, Lamodlin. There was a place, Doherty in Pittsburgh, and they're all calling and, trying to sign me. And I'm late 20s. I'm in great shape, working out. I'm a former wrestler, all-state wrestler, and I was still in really good shape, better shape than I've ever been. And I agreed. I signed a contract with the company down in Youngstown, Lamodlin, and she got me all kinds of work, all kinds of print ads and commercials. I probably did 30 commercials. And
so you went into acting?
I went into acting and modeling, and I told them I don't have any acting skills. They're like, just be yourself. That's the best advice they could ever give me. Be yourself. I remember the first audition was for the Cleveland Clinic. I went up, and I was so nervous signing the waiver that my hand was shaking. And the guy looked at me and goes, what are you so nervous about? I go, I'm not an actor. They're like, just be yourself. You had one word to do. The word was amazing. Somebody was jogging, and they said the Cleveland Clinic can fix anything. And I looked at the camera. I said, amazing. That's all I said. I was still nervous. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you all this, Dad was running all these properties. My dad had about 18 at the time that he started to get ill. And when I say 18, he had 18 rental properties, but it was about 36 doors because a lot of them were 2 units.
Sure.
And I was still helping my dad, and I was helping my brother sell cars. But I really didn't want to get into real estate because I thought, man, this is a lot of aggravation, And Dad got very ill, and he was literally on his deathbed, and he was telling me, Mike, this guy's not paying and that guy's not paying. Could you go down? Can you try to collect from him and, evict this guy? And I'm like, man, oh man, Dad. Yeah, sure. I felt bad for him, And so I went down, and next thing you know, they all knew me down there. I'm the pretty boy model, who never worked a damn in his life, but I did work. I actually did work with my dad, but not as hard as my dad. My dad worked every day on those rentals. Long story short, Dad passes, and I used the knowledge and wisdom that he gave me. I thought, I'm not going to sell this stuff. I'm going to expand it. And I started learning ways to buy property. And my dad helped me a lot. Mom and Dad, a lot of them were paid for. So I was able to borrow on one and buy 2 more. And then I would fix that up, and I would borrow on that and buy more.
So what's that look like? For somebody that's not in real estate, what type of transactions is that? What type of loans?
Well, I ended up teaching a class years down the road at Stark State, telling young investors the importance of your credit and get your credit straight. A lot of times young people get a credit card and they want to go buy stuff, go buy everything they can and, screw it, I don't got to pay them back. And I told them, no, don't do that. What you want to do, my dad taught me this, if you need a pair of boots and you're going to buy them anyway, buy it on your credit card, pay it off. If you need gas and you got the money for it anyway, buy it with the card, pay it off. So I tried to do that. The first one that I bought, other than my dad's, because they obviously went to my mother, I didn't have credit. I didn't have bad credit, but I had no credit. So it was hard to get a loan. So my mom co-signed. And my mom's like, Michael, she knows I'm responsible, and I would pay. And I went from no credit in the late 90s, mid-90s, to really good credit now today. And I take my credit serious because you look at a lot of these big real estate people, they don't pay cash. They use the bank's money. And that's what I strongly suggest. So anyway, I would buy one, borrow against it, fix it up, borrow against it, and I kept doing it and just kept doing it. And my mom would tell me, Michael.
What would you recommend other than just your credit, right? So I mean, to position yourself to be able to take those kind of loans.
Right.
A little
You're right.
more.
You're right. You're right. It is more than money and credit. There's several things if you want to be in real estate. And one is you better have a good temperament. And what I mean by that is it's like being in the stock market. Don't expect every stock to be hitting all the time. You better assume that you're going to lose some money. Okay. You better assume that. Well, with real estate, let's say you have 10 tenants. Only 9 is going to probably pay. And, only 8 might pay all the time. You might have that one chronic late one, but you're going to have your tenants that just for whatever reason don't have the money, don't want to pay, and it's going to be a struggle. You can't be a hothead, and you have to be calm and cool, until there's a time to not be calm and cool. I mean, you got to be calm and cool, but you got to be firm. You can't let them live for free. Yeah.
Sure. Did this so recently, COVID-19, right? Mm-hmm. They had the rent moratoriums where they were freezing rents. Did that impact you in some way?
It did very little because I'll tell you why. Like I mentioned, my dad had that family environment, and I tried to do the same thing as my dad. I mean, a lot of my tenants would tell me, "You're just like your dad. You got too big of a heart, or you're too much of a softie." Well, the way I look at it, I need my tenants as much as they need me. My house is empty. I can't make it. I'll go broke right away. I need my tenants. Why not be good to them? It's not a fake thing. It's a real thing. Why not? And I'm blessed to say that we have some tenants, 10, 15. We have, I think, 2 over 20 years. That's unheard of. And I typically don't raise the rent. If I do, it's very little. When I do raise it, it's when new people move in. And it's just because the climate we live in today, everything is more. My insurance is more, the water is more, just everything is more. Materials are more. But I try to keep my rent very, very competitive and very good. And that's probably why a lot of my people stay, But you asked me, what else besides credit and money? Temperament, and you better be pretty handy. It's like my dad taught me. You can't hire everything done. If I just go buy a property and get a property manager, and a shingle blows off, they're going to go put a new roof on that house. They're not going to go repair that roof. Or if I have a leaky faucet, they're not going to say, "Hey, we can replace the washer here." They're going to say, "Put a new faucet," because it's my money, not theirs. When you're handy and you can change a faucet and light a pilot and put a shingle on a roof, I'm not saying you got to do everything, but you better have the basic knowledge of fixing things. That helps you a lot.
I can understand that. I mean, so you and I, similar space, right? Mm-hmm. That's actually what I do is I contract out to property managers. Obviously, you want to control those costs and everything. My opinion, though, on scale, though, when you scale a massive portfolio, like I tend to work with the big national companies. Mm-hmm. And at a certain point, you got to systemize that stuff, and then you got to bring in your own guys that can do that stuff. But sure, with a limited portfolio and something that you're managing yourself, I completely see your point there.
And I see your work for Refresh. I mean, you do fabulous work. I mean, you really do. Probably too nice of stuff for my rentals. I mean, don't be offended. I would rather use you in my house that I live in, but I mean, your work is fabulous. What I try to do, getting back to that family atmosphere, is I'm up to 42 properties now, about 85 units. Okay. I probably have an average of 5 to 10 guys not working. And it's just the climate, they're not working, whether they're getting unemployment temporarily.
These are your tenants?
Yeah. So what I do is I work. I need all the grass cut. So I'm going to have to hire someone anyway. I need painting when someone moves out. I need to empty units. So I constantly have people working for me every day. A day with me consists of me getting up, getting the kids off to school, going down to the apartments, and then what am I doing today? I have a vacancy. I rarely have vacancies. I'm blessed like that. But there's always something to do, whether it's cut the grass, paint a fence, fix something. Believe me, there's always something to do. And I usually have 2 or 3 guys that I'll meet at one of the properties and say, "Hey, let's go. I want you to go over here and do this, and you go do that." Or I'll take them with me. We'll go to Home Depot, pick up materials. But
I love your mobile van.
Yeah.
Your mobile.
It's old school,
van.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything about me is old school, even my flip phone. But so getting back to getting into the real estate, I had a nice run with the modeling that went on throughout my 30s. Had a lot of cool things I did, and then I full blown got into the real estate in my late 30s. I'm 57 now, so I've been doing it just over 20 years. I I don't think I want to buy any more right now because I have a lot. I have a lot on my plate. I have my brother that helps me still, Art. My middle brother, Brent, passed away. He had an aneurysm. He passed away suddenly, and that was a big loss because Brent could fix anything. I mean, not just losing your brother, but losing your partner in crime, So if I can delve into the politics a little bit, if you want how I got into that too.
Sure, I'm really curious to hear.
So growing up at Highland Square, we had a great councilman, was there for years and years and years, and he passed away. I'm not sure what exactly he had. He might have had cancer. I'm not sure. And a lot of the business owners were like, Mike, why don't you run for office? I said, what am I going to do? They're like, are you kidding me? City council, you know everybody in the square. You have all your built-in clientele that would all vote for you anyway. You'd hope anyway. You're great with people, and I'm like, they're building my head, and I'm thinking, well, I'm pretty level-headed, and I'm used to dealing with people every day. And one thing I do, and one thing I said I would do, is I'll call you back. I might not have the answer. I'll be a first-time candidate. I might not, but I'm going to call you back, and I'm going to get you the answer. So if I could show you the logo, I thought, well, I'm going to run. So I ran as a Republican. I'm a conservative in an extremely liberal Highland Square. Everybody knows that, and that's okay. I had a lot of people tell me, are you nuts? You have zero chance. And
going against the grain for sure.
Yeah, I was definitely going against the grain. Yeah, but that's okay. I was never going to badmouth my opponent. I never even mentioned her name. The whole campaign, people would ask me, who's your opponent? I'd say, I'm not really sure. And kiddingly, I would say that. Because there's nothing that turns me off more than dirty politics and nastiness when you see candidates just bad-mouthing each other.
So getting into politics for the first time, what did you learn through that? I mean...
Well, I learned a lot.
It's a snake pit, right?
Yeah. Well, what I learned was it's very cliquey. Remember in high school?
Sure.
Don't go over him. Don't talk to that guy. Why are you talking? That's what I learned right away off the bat. I'm the type of guy that until you do me wrong, I'm going to give you every benefit of the doubt. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, poor, rich. It doesn't matter. If you treat me good, I'm going to treat you good. And that's just the kind of guy I am. Well, right away, I started taking pictures with other candidates, other former candidates, and so many people said, hey, don't take a picture with that guy. He's tied up with so-and-so, or don't take a picture with... These people were all nice to me. They were all... I was leaning in on every one of them, and I was honestly taking advice from them all. I'm a first-time candidate. I have no idea how to be a politician.
Were there any scenarios where people were giving you advice that were against your best interests? Like, I hate to draw up, the negative parts of politics, but I know it's kind of a dirty game.
Yeah. To be truthful, I didn't see a lot of dirty politics. I didn't get deep enough in. I won the primary, okay? And then I came up, I went against a civil rights attorney. That's who I ran against at Highland Square. And nothing wrong with that. It's just I'm more of a blue-collar, everyday guy, and I didn't debate her. She didn't ask to debate, but people were like, you're going to debate an attorney? Are you out of your mind? And I'm like, you know what? If I have to debate her, I'm just going to talk about, hey, I know what the everyday guy wants. I know. Do you even know how much a gallon of paint is? I would ask her, but no, luckily it never came to that. I won the primary, and then I came up to the main election in November, and I had signs everywhere. I had billboards, and even though people were like, Mike, you're not going to win. The last Republican to run in Highland Square in 2015 got 10% of the vote. 10%. I figured I could get that just from my tenants,
right.
So I ended up with close to 30%, and I was disappointed because I really thought I'd win, but I lost. But the people at the party were so happy with me. They're like, Mike, you did fabulous. I said I lost. They're like, you were in the hardest, worst ward for you. Outside of the city, you would get way more than that. So they wanted me to run for mayor as the mayor candidate came up this year. And I did a lot of long, hard thinking. And I thought, man, I don't want to put my family through that again, another year of knocking on doors. And that was the key, is knocking on doors, getting out there and talking to people.
As an Akron resident and business owner in the city, I generally don't really get involved in politics. I don't vote very much. I keep my politics to myself. But I would have supported you. I'm not very keen on the direction of the city. So
yeah, I
actually think I would have went out there and voted. And by the way, that would have been the first time I cast a vote for a mayor. So
that says a lot. And you know what? It ended up being there's 7 candidates. I believe 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, 2 independents, no Republicans. They didn't even run anyone. And it's sad because I think it's a defeatist attitude to not even have anyone. It's like forfeiting all your wrestling weight classes, So part of me is like, man, I should have ran just to take one for the team. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep my foot in politics just because, not that I want to be a politician. I just think I could use my skills as an everyday person, as a businessman that I deal with all walks of life and I get along with everybody. That I think I would be, I just think I'd be a great politician just because, for that matter alone, that I can relate to everyone I talk to. And like I said, I'll call you back. So I'm going to run in a more Republican-friendly environment next time when I do run, I think. Instead of trying to change everyone's mind, I think I'll just kind of,
I'd like to see it. Honestly, I would.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff they're doing currently in Akron. So, for example, the building we're in right now, right? Mm-hmm. We're located in Akron. I got a tax bill for like $20-something $1,000 for road improvements, right?
Yeah.
I pulled up the paperwork for the road improvements. It's all public record.
Yeah.
Right? I pull it up and I start going through it, and I look at all the improvements that were supposed to be done on the street out front, on a corner lot. So they're billing me for both ends.
Sure.
And all the improvements that they're adding onto this tax bill, half of it's not there.
Yeah.
Like they didn't do half of it, and they're billing me for all this stuff, and it's itemized.
Yeah.
So I went through the items, and they completely ripped me off.
Oh, it's
and
terrible.
What am I going to do about it, right?
Well, I thought if I did run for mayor, what could I do? I don't have the experience to be the mayor, quote unquote, okay? But I have the experience of dealing with everyday people. I have common sense. I have business savvy. I would do things like try to help people with their water bills, the sewers in Akron. I mean, we're paying outrageous water bills. I would make sure the roads.
For the listeners, if you're not from Akron, if you're not from this area, Akron has a huge problem with the water bills here. They're astronomical.
Astronomical.
It goes back to us, the city, polluting the Cuyahoga River. And they were dumping all these chemicals in it, and the EPA is fining the city. And so these fines are getting passed on to the residents here, and they still haven't solved the problem. They're still technically dumping into the Cuyahoga River. Honest to God,
when I get my water bills, because the landlord is responsible for water bills, even if I don't pay them all, at the end of the day, if the tenant doesn't pay, it's going to come back to me. I do the sign of the cross when I open that mailbox and there's 40 water bills, because I've had some $700, $800 water bills just from 2 runny toilets in a building, or a hot water tank might be leaking in the basement they didn't check, and it's astronomical. So I just pray that they're under 100. If they're 90, 85, 90, $100, I'm happy with that. But that's a bad thing. And, if I were the mayor...
Which is nuts.
It is crazy.
I've been in, I've lived all over the country, and I didn't have water bills like that even in San Diego, and you're talking pretty much a freaking desert, right?
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Water is our problem. People think it's gas and electric, but it's water bills here. Another thing, if I was to be mayor, make sure the roads are plowed. I mean, just simple things. Make sure the area is safe. More policemen. I'm very pro-police. See, I'm a patriotic. I'm a pro-police guy. I just am. I was raised that way, and
I have the Ring app, right? I use Ring cameras and the security systems all over. I'm sure you have something similar, but they have that neighborhood thing, and constantly, it's at least twice a week that there's a shooting or a drive-by or something like that, and it's right up the road. I'm in a decent part of the city, but 2 blocks over, and there's drive-bys all.
It's crazy.
The crime rate's nuts.
If you don't have safety, what do you have? I think safe neighborhoods are number one.
Yeah, completely agree. Hey, let's circle back a little bit to your real estate. And, you were giving advice on people investing in real estate.
Yeah.
And so credit's at the top, right? You got to have really, really good credit. But what are some creative ways somebody can get into the space without a lot of money, right? Because you got to have that down payment.
That's a good question. That's a good question. I was teaching a class at Stark State, like I said, for about a year. And there's young kids, young investors. It was an investment class. And I swear by real estate. I made a nice living with real estate just because there's not too many things you can buy in life where you're sleeping at night and you're making money. Okay. Every day people are living in my properties, they're paying rent. Okay, so we got to remember that. Not to mention appreciation. The appreciation has been crazy the last few years. It was so dormant, but not now. Now it's remarkable.
So I'm going to pull you off track, but do you think that's going to go down?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I think it's going to
cool off because people can't keep paying these rates. We got interest rates going up again now, highest since 2007, I think they said. So yes, it's going to cool down. And if I do buy more real estate, I'm going to definitely wait till it cools. So you had asked me a few minutes ago about was I affected by COVID? I wasn't personally. I'm very blessed because a lot of my tenants told me point blank, Mike, we know we could say we were affected by COVID and not pay you. Well, they have to pay. It's just they were just pushing it back. But we're not going to do that to you. You've been good to us. You haven't raised the rent, and I appreciated it so much. It's like thank you because you could cripple a guy like me. If all my tenants stopped paying, it would cripple me. I mean, I don't have that much money.
So I can't name names, but I do work with the biggest companies in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. We're talking 8,000 unit plus portfolios, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And some of them got impacted more than others. And I know some of them were struggling through that. Yeah. That period, I had one. It was 30% of multi-thousand unit portfolio not paying the rent.
Think about that. How could the government tell you as a businessman they don't have to pay you rent?
Oh, I'd be collecting it. I'm not in the real estate game, but I'm sorry, I'm collecting it by any means.
I mean, if let's say I have a property and the rent's $600, okay, and I have a mortgage that's $400, okay. Mm-hmm. You still have property taxes, you have insurance, you have rental registration, you have trash, and you have maintenance. So I might make $100 a month per unit. Now with some of mine, we've been doing it so long that a lot of them are paid for. So sure, I'm making more. But I'm talking about the novice investor. Most people have mortgages. Not everybody has stuff paid for. How are you going to tell that businessman they don't have to pay rent? That is the most ridiculous. If the government wants to say they don't have to pay rent, then guess what? The government pay me. That's fine. We'll keep them here, no problem. But the government pay me, which they did help later with this CARES Act.
Mike, the government doesn't have any money.
No, well, they have it. They have it. They're sending it everywhere else but here. Why not help us out here? But like I said, I'm very blessed that my tenants paid. But I have a lot of landlord friends that are like what you're saying. 20, 30% of the people didn't pay, and it crippled a lot of people. They got out of the business. People ask me, why is rent so high now? You want to know what part of the reason why it's so high? Because landlords got very upset with what they did to them. And once they got rid of the people, because now the moratorium's gone, they evicted them, they're raising the rent now. They're getting enough money now, first, last, security.
Well, I mean, come on, it's more than just that.
I know, but that's part of it.
Yeah, but you've got the inflation going on. You have some companies that are raising it with the inflation and actually doing it morally. Mm-hmm. And you have some companies that are gouging, which is just starting to level out. But it's more than just, people not paying rent. Mm-hmm. The rents are going up because interest rates are going up. Loans are getting refinanced. So the mortgage itself on the property is higher.
Everything's higher.
Everything's going up. And again, I said I wasn't going to get political, but that's because the government printed trillions of freaking dollars.
Well, you're not getting political. You're just stating the facts. Yeah. The board at Home Depot is double what it was.
Yeah.
So
they crushed the whole economy.
Your improvement on the property, your maintenance, everything is higher. So you asked me about creative ways to buy properties. Okay. So I want to tell you a couple things that I did when I was younger. So I told you, Mom helped me with my credit, and I started developing some good credit. Okay. So I didn't have a ton of money. I didn't. I barely had the down payments on these properties, but I bought one property on a credit card. And people think that's nuts, but it wasn't nuts.
I started my company on a credit card.
It was a $20,000 property behind the Balt Street Athletic Club on Westwood. And that property fixed up was worth about $65,000. And I had a $20,000 limit on my credit card. And I bought it on that credit card. And I just fixed it up with the money I had, rented it, and then I paid double payments on that. And I watched the interest rate, and the way I looked at it, my tenant was paying that card. I wasn't thinking about it. My tenant was paying that card. And once I got my credit in good shape and I had that, then I refied that property and I paid that credit card off. And you know what?
Can I throw a little disclaimer in here for the listeners? I would not recommend using a credit card to purchase anything unless you absolutely know what you're doing.
Right.
And you have a good plan to make sure that you pay it off and you get it paid off quickly.
You're right.
I'm just throwing that out.
You're right. No, you're right. But that was my plan. That credit card was that house. That credit card, that was my mortgage. And that's how I did it until, not everybody's got a ton of cash. People are starting off, they don't have anything. That's why I'm emphasizing, get your credit in good shape. When people ask me all the time, how the hell you got 42 properties? It's been a lot of long years, a lot of work, learning from my dad, learning from my mom, taking the strength of both of them, and I've been very blessed. Another thing I did is I bought a house land contract. Now, what this means, land contract, and I got screwed on it, so I'm going to tell you how to not get screwed because I learned the hard way. A land contract is if I have a property and it's paid for, and you come to me and say, Mike, I want to buy that property. Land contract means I'm going to act as the bank. Okay, Adam, I'm going to finance you that property. So we're going to work out our own terms, okay? So Mom warned me. She said, Michael, don't do that. I said, what do you mean, Mom? I know this guy. She says, don't do that. She goes, what if he gets sued? What if anything happened? What if he dies? I mean, just don't. Well, I was getting, I don't want to say greedy, but I was getting anxious. I was making money with the rentals. I wanted more. It's like this is really, screw this working. I like being a landlord. This is fun. So I bought a property. I gave the guy $10,000 down. It was $40,000 property in Barberton on Lake Anna. It was probably worth $60,000 or $70,000 at the time. Well, about 3 months into it, I get a letter from an attorney that he wasn't even okay to sell that. He was acting as a trustee, selling it for an old man who was in a nursing home. Well, the old man's family got wind of this, and they came after me. I didn't know. I wasn't savvy enough to do title searches and all that. A house is different than a car title where you can take and sign it. House, you better do title searches. And they go way back and they look at, that's the best $250 you can spend as a title search. Long story short, I went to court and the judge felt sorry for me. I'm like, Your Honor, I gave this guy $10,000, every penny I had in my name, and the old man actually felt sorry for me too. What they did is they said, you just pay this man instead of paying that man. And I did that.
So you got to keep the property.
I got to keep the property, but I still had to hire attorneys, go to court. It was still a nerve-wracking time. I thought I'm going to lose my money. So I don't really highly recommend land contracts. If you can get a loan from the bank, go that route. Work on your credit. There's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of different ways. And if you're going to get into real estate, like I said to you, Adam, you got to have the right temperament. If you're a real hothead, it might not be good for you. But if you think you have a good temperament and you're pretty handy, real estate is a great tool.
What about investors? Do you have investors that invest?
This is a good question. It's a good question. As I got rolling a little bit, I've had people come and say, Mike, I want to go in. We got unlimited funds. We'll go in with you on property. I thought, well, this is great. I got unlimited funds here. Okay. So I took on a partner, and the deal was we would split this property. I would manage it, but he would help me do work on it as needed. Right. Well, as soon as we got it, I just found myself, I was over there all the time and he was never around every time I'd call, but he was around on the first when rent was due. He always got that money. So this went on for several years and he's still my good friend, but I said, brother, this really isn't working. I seem like I'm doing 90% of the work. And he even agreed. He said, well, just buy me out. Well, I had to give him a lot more than he initially invested. So, partners are hard in any business. You know that, I'm sure. I don't care what kind of partners are hard. My advice, if you don't need a partner, don't take a partner. But sometimes, you need partners to get your stuff off the ground.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Citizens of Distilled Wisdom, gather around and listen up. If you're a fan of the show and want to join forces with its host, Adam Ferracane, then Refresh Franchising is the perfect choice for you. So gather your courage, summon your inner superhero, and visit refreshfranchising.com to launch your heroic franchise journey. Refresh Franchising, the heroic choice for entrepreneurs, proud sponsor of the Distilled Wisdom podcast.
So, this is kind of different than a lot of the real estate advice you hear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of them encourage you to go, find somebody to give you the loan, flip it over really quick, then get your refi, and you can hold on to the property. I know people that do it both ways. Yours sounds like it's a lot more comfortable, secure for yourself, for building, long term. If you have the ambition and you want to really scale huge, if you want to grow this to, again, like some of the clients I work with and everything, if you want to go that level, you got to take money.
Sure. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But my word is my bond with somebody, and I don't want to look someone in the eye and take $50,000 or $100,000 without having an end game and say, you're going to get this back. I don't like to play dirty that way. I like to know what I'm doing. And I told the partners, hey, I'll manage it and I'll run it, but we're going to have expenses here. It's not going to just all be fun and games, And so the few partners I've had, they've all come out ahead, but I feel like that I did most of the work. I just do. So I'm to the point now I don't need a partner, thank God, unless I really want to go buy high rises, which I don't have. Most of my stuff, I have a few 4-unit buildings, several duplexes, and single family. And we're talking about novice investors. I recommend single families over multifamilies, and I'll tell you why. A lot less aggravation.
See, I would argue with you there too.
Well, I just tell you what I experience. Okay, if I have a single family in West Akron, and I rent it for say $650, okay, they take care of the yard, they pay the utilities, they don't call me about any neighbors or barking dogs or anything. Okay, so I'm not clearing, but I'm bringing in $650. Okay, now let's say I have a 2-family and I'm bringing in $650 a unit, but I'm paying utilities because a lot of those, they're not split up utilities, and I pay utilities at some of those places. You know what I get there? Here's what I get. Them phone calls. They're parking in my spot. They're slamming doors, barking dogs. It ramps up like this.
Well, sure, but if you scale to a property that has 150, 200 units, 1,000 units, so on and so forth, right? As long as there's the budget there for the property management company, you're silent.
No,
right?
that's true. Yeah.
If you can, if it's a budgeted, what is it, 3% for a property management company or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's a little more actually now. But the thing is, I'm talking about the novice investor. The starting investor is not going to buy a 150 unit. He's going to buy a single property, you know. Now, another thing I tell people, if you're looking to get into it and you're paying rent, maybe buy a duplex and start off that way. Live in half of it, rent the other side.
Oh, I recommend that to all of my technicians in the company, to anybody just getting started. People in their younger years. Anybody out there, if you're looking to buy your first house, stop right now and do not buy that fucking house by yourself. Right? Buy a duplex. Live in it for a year. You're going to be able to take advantage of first-time homeowners loans, right? So you can get it with as little as 3% down on the house, and then you only have to stay in it 1 year. So you're doing 1 year, and then you move out, and now this property's paying for itself with its 2 tenants, and you have your first investment property. Then you can buy your house if you want to buy your house. Right? Or you could repeat this multiple times.
Read books too. I read Carlton Sheets' Idiot's Guide to Being a Real Estate Investor, even Trump's book, Art of the Deal. Whether you like Trump or not, Trump used everyone else's money.
Oh, of course.
And he built skyscrapers. And there's something to be said about using the bank's money. You know, I'm not telling you to go belly up on your loans. I'm not trying to tell you that. But, you know, when interest rates were down, use the bank's money. Save your money. You can do other things with your money. I dabble in, like I told you, my brother had that car lot. Well, I still have a dealer's license. So I dabble in old motorcycles, classic cars.
Oh, I love your photos, man.
Yeah, thank you.
How many cars do you own right now?
I have 17 cars and 6 motorcycles.
But
that's my passion. And they're classic vehicles. They're not, you know, I like to buy things that are going to make me money. And if I buy an old Corvette, like last summer, I bought a 68 Corvette.
The yellow one.
Yeah. Well, no, that's a 79. I got two 79s I bought out of an estate, L82s. But I have a 68 that's in primer. I don't know if you saw it or not, but I don't know. I'll post some pictures this week. Okay. But I buy a vehicle like that. I paid $5,000. It didn't run. It was in primer. It just was an absolute piece of crap. And me and my brother got it running, put brake lines on it, fuel lines. Okay, we got it going, battery. I got about 7,500, 8,000 in now, but it's a 68 Corvette convertible 327. I mean, this car is going to be worth that every day. It's just going up in value. So I'm taking my time. I'm block sanding it, trying to get it ready, because if you just take it to a shop and say paint it, it's going to be $10,000. So I'm trying to do as much of it as I can do and then get it painted.
If you ever want training on how to paint it, so bathroom
Yeah.
finishing is very much like painting a
Yeah,
car.
yeah. I might just bring it here. We got room back there. I can pull it in because it's got to look better than it looks now. It's in primer right now.
It might fit, but you could probably just grab one of my technicians, right? Have them help you out on it.
Yeah.
So.
But I try to buy vehicles, older cars, older Chevys, Harley Davidsons, things that just hold their value. So I could drive it and ride it and ride it. And if I need my money, if something comes up, I can sell it. Where you go in and buy that new car for $60,000, you're going to lose $10,000 the minute you pull out of the dealership. I don't care what you say, you're going to lose $10,000.
Well, I'm the stupid guy. You sell my truck.
Well, I love your truck, though. I just don't have the nerve to pull the strings for something like that.
I'm completely retarded when it comes to vehicles. I like.
I'm trying to teach you a little something. You're teaching me.
Oh no! I agree with you on all of this. I like new shiny things.
I know.
And I'm willing to
Houses are like old cars. I mean, you're going to get an old house. You're going to have to work on it. My old car, luckily, I know how to work on them. I grew up with my dad and brothers working on, old Chevys, and I can change brake pads, and that's stuff I can do. I've been very blessed to have a hands-on dad who taught me a lot of things, and that's why I can relate to the everyday person that actually works, because I actually work, I still work, So, yeah, I mean, if anybody's got any questions, you can forward my number, because I'd love to tell young people to invest. I don't have the belly for the stock market. I've tried the stock market twice, and I know people make millions in it, and I'm sure they do. But the 2 times I got in were both at the wrong time, and it came way down, and I kind of panicked, and I sold, and I probably shouldn't have. But people say, well, you don't worry about your real estate going up and down. I go, I don't worry about that, because that rent's coming every month.
And it's tangible.
Yeah, it's tangible. I own this. So they always say stick with what you know. That's my bread and butter. No matter what I do in my life, whether it's politics or whatever I do, I'm always going to stick with the real estate. That's my bread and butter.
I love real estate. I'm with you too. So I'm not putting much into real estate now. I've got a little, the building we're in and everything.
Well, let the market come down. It's coming down.
So I invest differently. I invest in businesses.
Yeah.
Right. My money goes back into starting businesses and companies, and so I build a different type of asset.
Yeah.
By the way, it's the hardest way to build a freaking asset, real estate, I think.
No, it is.
It is awesome, though. When it comes to the stock market, I'm with you on that. I put a little bit in here and there every month, just kind of sitting over there. But I hate the stock market. I don't like it's speculation. The entire thing is just, it's fake money, it's fake everything. It's fake securities, right? I could sit here and ramble about the banking industry.
Oh, yeah.
The stock, Wall Street can literally, no offense, completely kiss my ass.
If I could tell you a funny story, I went to a millionaires meeting one time at a nice restaurant in Akron, and supposedly everybody there had to be a millionaire. And I guess I'm a millionaire on paper, because I'm not on with cash. But, I'm a sponge. I listen to I don't know it all. I'm learning every day still. And I was having hors d'oeuvres talking to these 2 dudes, and they're both prominent Akron businessmen that own businesses that you would know if I told you what they were. And they're like, they never saw me. Who are you? And I said, well, I'm Mike Andes. I have real estate. I'm running for city council. I've got to befriend them. I said, can I pick your brain a little bit about something? I go, yeah. I go, let's say I had a couple $100,000, hypothetically, okay? What would you do with the money? What would you do personally? Because you're very obviously successful. A guy like you, I want to listen. What do you do with your money? He goes, me? I go, yeah. He goes, I put every penny in the market. I go, you do? He goes, every nickel I got to go. He goes, I don't even look at it. I don't worry about it. It's long term. It goes like this. And I said, oh, thank you. That's good advice. So he walked away, and the guy over here is shaking his head. I go, what? He goes, I don't put a nickel in the market. He's an old school Italian guy, right? Yeah. He goes, my money's in a mattress. I got my cash. I can go buy cars, motorcycles, and pay cash, and I can flip it. And I'm relating more to this guy than I was this guy, but I could see both of their sides. And I thought, I'm kind of in the middle of you two, but it's so funny how there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah. There's certainly no right answer, right?
No.
I mean, people do it different ways. There's nothing wrong with putting money into the market, assuming the market,
Do you have the belly for the market? See, I don't. I kept looking at my statement.
Oh, I don't even look.
Yeah, well,
so
that's
the little bit I'm putting over there, I don't even touch it.
Well, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, if the market continues, though. I mean, again, the condition of what's happening in the economy and what's happening in the country.
Yeah, I have no faith in it.
No,
right now.
the market is. You're almost, my opinion, you're almost better if you're trying to just save cash, gold and silver, man, physical.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know, have a
I try to do a little bit of that. I try to spread everything out between. You asked about all the vehicles. Well, these are vehicles that I've had for years. I didn't just go out and buy all these cars. These are cars that I've accumulated over the last 30 years. And I normally don't sell them. I just rehab them. And people are like, well, where do you put them all? Well, I own all these houses. I try to keep the garages. And unless my tenants really press me hard for a garage, you know, I'll say, well, for an extra 100, 150, you can have the garage. A lot of times they say, keep the garage. So, and luckily I got somebody there living. They keep an eye on it.
Well, you're doing it right. I mean, a classic car is they always say a vehicle, right, is a liability. In any financial book you read, it's a liability, but not what you're doing. That's
not with a classic car, is it?
No, they appreciate like crazy. One of my dream cars is a 70-ish Chevelle.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I love that fucking car.
Yeah, I do too.
And when I first started window shopping, those like I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever, when I'm young. And you could probably pick one up for $6,000-$7,000.
Now they're $30,000-$40,000.
Yeah. They're
true.
like $40,000-$50,000.
Well, you talk about having cash and being in the right place at the right time. I went to an estate auction. There was 279 L82 Corvettes. Okay, L82, just for your audience, it's a little higher performance motor than the 350. Not much, but it's a little bit. And they're a limited car, okay? There was a yellow one and a red one. I was going to go to like $7,500 on the yellow one because my daughter's favorite color is yellow. And the opening bid on both cars was $10,000. So I'm thinking, well, that's $5,000 a piece. That's a steal. So I raised my hand and bid. Nobody else bid. There was hardly anybody there that day, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get both these cars for $10,000, which I ended up getting them, and those are the ones you see me posting. And those cars are easily worth $10,000 a piece today.
Sure.
And I promised them to my kids, red one to my boy, the yellow one to my girl. And so I keep them in good working order, drive them, in the summer, store them in the winter. I can work on those cars. They're carbureted 350s. They're simple cars to work on. They don't rust because they're Corvettes. Things like that I'm never going to lose money on. I'm never going to, that car's just going to go up in value. And so the 68 I'm restoring is just going to go up in value, So I don't blow my money, what I make with the rentals. I try to either reinvest it in the properties or I try to buy things that I'm not going to really lose a lot of money on.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I live a simple life, believe it or not, I do. I live a very simple life.
It's funny. I used to imagine, wealthy people, millionaires and everything. And until you mature and you get a little bit older, you see them as, like essentially like the stars, right? Like the movie stars and everything. It's like, oh, they got flashy this. They're all driving Land Rovers and flying.
Not all of them are that way.
No, actually, most of them aren't that way.
Yeah, most of them are down
The reality is for the listeners, you meet millionaires every single day. You're out in the world. You just have no idea because, like here, look at Mike. He's here in a hoodie. Just
this is me. You said come as the way you are. That's how I am.
Yeah.
Well, when I learned that too, brother, was with my dad. My dad wore jeans and flannel shirts or whatever, and he worked there. My dad always had a pocket full of money. He could buy whatever he wanted, but he was simple. He would rather have his money in peace of mind than have all this flashy stuff, And I'll tell you when I learned that is selling cars. The people that come in to look at cars, you don't ever judge those people. These guys would come in with I'll tell you a story. I was leaning back with my feet on the desk reading the paper, and an old dude comes in overalls and work boots, and he's looking at we had a nice Cadillac. I think it was a CTS, and he's looking at, now maybe it wasn't a CTS because this was years ago. Maybe it might have been an Eldorado. And I'm leaning back, and my dad's like, what the hell are you doing? I go, what? He goes, that guy wants to look at the car. I go, Dad, that guy doesn't have, a bag of peanuts. He grabbed me by the arm. He goes, you go show that. You don't know what that guy got. And sure enough, I went and showed that. And the guy goes, cash work on this car? He didn't even, bitch about the price. That was the price. He paid it for the car. And I walk back in, I go, Dad, you were right. I'm not going to judge anyone ever again, you know?
It's funny because, most of the public does.
They do.
I go out like this, I got my jacket on and everything like that. All of a sudden, I'm sir.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, so excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
This, that, right? And
Yeah.
I go, dressed down, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like, fuck you. What are you doing?
I
here?
know.
And
It's a shame that society's like that, but people like you and me, we're a little older now, and we learn that. When you're young and you're in college and high school, you don't judge a book by its cover.
it's definitely an age thing.
Yeah.
As you start maturing and you start caring less.
Yeah.
I just turned 40. I'm going to cut that from this.
Yeah.
I just turned 40. And then, so when I hit 40, I don't know, I'm all of a sudden, and I just turned literally February, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, my whole perspective is already shifting this year. It's like, I don't give a fuck about this anymore.
I respect what I've seen here from you, man. I mean, you really got your stuff together, and it's really cool what you're doing here.
It's been a fantastic interview with you. Crazy, interesting story. You've had a pretty interesting life.
Yeah, thank you, man. This is my first podcast. This is awesome. I hope the people listening can pick up some tips I gave them, maybe about real estate and life in general. And I hope I didn't offend anyone in any way with any political stuff. I'm not trying to be that way.
It's sad that you even have to say that.
Well, you never know. This economy, the world that we live in today, people get offended about everything, but I really don't mean to. I really hope you listen to me about the real estate if you're trying to get into it. And if you need a place to live, I'm full now, but I have not a website, but I'm on Facebook under Andy's Investors, and that's spelled ANDES. So feel free to reach out to me, and if you want to just friend me on there too. And I'd be glad to help you in any way, whether it's buying a property, selling a property, rehabbing a property, or just renting to you. We've been in the business. My dad bought the first property in 1958, so we've been in the business, 60 years now or something, 65 years. About 65 years. So, but it's a pleasure talking to you. This is a beautiful studio you got, and this is I look for big things coming from you with this podcast. This is really
man.
cool.
We'll have to get you back again. I got to get this set up so that we have multiple people.
Yeah.
So
well,
right now
if I run for something big here, you'll be my first call, and we'll come in. We'll talk about it. So
yeah, we'll get you out there. And I'll tell you what. We'll use my marketing department, and I'll help you. I'll teach you how to chop videos into little shorts and stuff for TikTok.
That's awesome, man. Very nice to see you, man. It was nice. Thanks to everybody for listening today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And to our listeners, we will see you next month with another guest. I have a really exciting one in the pipeline, but it's not confirmed yet, so I can't make any announcements on that. We look forward to the next episode, and thanks for your time. Thanks for listening. And don't forget to check out refreshfranchising.com, the sponsor of the podcast.
I'm Refresh Man, and I'm here to empower you to take charge of your destiny. Are you tired of working for someone else? Do you dream of making a difference in your community and unleashing your full potential? Then look no further than Refresh Franchising. With us by your side, you can start your own heroic business venture with the unwavering support and cutting-edge resources you need to conquer your goals. Our franchise model is like a super serum that will give you the strength to succeed. Refresh provides extensive training, ongoing mentorship, and an established brand with a loyal customer base. Plus, you'll become part of a heroic league of entrepreneurs who serve as allies on your journey towards greatness. And the best part, you won't have to waste time building your business from scratch like some kind of neophyte. With Refresh Franchising, you'll hit the ground running at lightning speed and unlock the key to heroic financial success. So gather your courage, summon your inner superhero, and visit refreshfranchising.com to launch your heroic franchise journey. Always remember, together, we can achieve greatness.